Welcome, guys. Today we are starting off with what if Ash was born in Sinnoh. Technically, this is second what if on my channel, so please do support it. Also, before starting off with the story, I want to clear a few things. I have only wrote two chapters currently, and I don't have much more ideas for what to do next. So, one request I have for all of you, other than subscribing and all, is to join the Discord and DM me some ideas regarding what I should do next in this series. I'll repeat the same in the next video as well, but please, I need your ideas to continue this series. So, what is this series all about? So, we all have heard about multiple what ifs. What if Ash was woke up late? What if Ash was born in chaos? What if Ash was born in Unova and all? So, what if Ash was born in Sinnoh with his starter being Chimcha all the way from the beginning? And one thing different here is that Paul isn't the bloody dick he was in the anime. Paul is kind of, you will get to know that in the story, and Dawn isn't much of a big character here for right now, but I'll try to give her some character development in further chapters. So, let's begin. 5 years before starting his journey, a young Ash Ketchum looked out of a window of a giant pickup truck he was in. Green hills and looming trees swept past his vision as he looked up. The sun too was starting to set. He was from Kanto, but since his father was working here in Sinnoh for a project for Charles Goodman, the president of the Pokemon League community, he and his mother had to move. The duo was currently on their way to Twin Leaf Town, their home for the incoming years. This place is so different from home, Ash thought. His little brain couldn't comprehend the situation, though he did grasp it a little. Ash, honey, stop fidgeting. We'll be there soon, his mother said soothingly to her 5-year-old child. Her words snapped Ash out of his torpor. Ash's knees stopped shaking at once. Delia Ketchum was a young woman in her mid-twenties. She loved Ash more than anything in the world. So when Ash wanted to visit his father, she immediately complied. It was a great chance to see her husband since he was working in whole other regions. He earned a lot of money, sure, but he rarely came home to visit. Sinnoh seemed to be a gathering point for her husband's jobs and her family. So, who is her husband? Her husband is none other than Red Ketchum. Red Ketchum, the champion of Kanto, stood in the entrance of the Twin Leaves town. His wife and son were coming in any minute now. He was very excited. His eyes glazed over and fell on the loving rodent on his shoulder. The small electric rodent nuzzled him and squeaked in delight. Even though Pika had only seen Ash once, he took an immediate liking to him. That was something most humans couldn't account for. Red's Pikachu was famous for its temper and overprotectiveness. Red's identity was kept a secret for everyone except for his wife and child. If too many people knew his family was moving to Twin Leaf, they would jump in for a chance to capture Ash or Dahlia. Suddenly, a loud rumbling sounded loudly from the distance. A giant red pickup truck carrying his family possessions as well as his family itself appeared over the top of a pine trees. It drew closer and closer. The driver beeped, walking Red up from his daze. Years of hard Pokemon training honed his reflexes. He jumped out of the way as the truck came to a screeching stop. The driver muttered a swear word and let open the door. A little bundle of blue and green came hurtling towards Red. He watched Ash as Ash tackled him and gave him a gigantic hug. Pika giggled on his shoulder and hopped on Ash's hat. Delia grinned slightly as her son's antics stepped out as well. Red saw Delia and put down his pouting son. He walked up to his wife. The two stared at each other for a moment and finally Red encased his wife with a passionate kiss. Ash grimaced and looked up, muttering, "Silly dad, doesn't he know not to eat mommy's face?" Pika nodded, "Pikachu." Red heard that and smiled. It was good to be united with his family once more. Meanwhile, a boy from with obsidian eyes and purple hair watched from behind a tree. As quickly as shadows, he disappeared. Once all the furniture and luggage were moved in their house, Ash went out to explore. Ash bounced over the town's lake. He was not told to go out of past Route 201, so he went for the second best thing, the town's lake. A boy with purple hair was sitting at the water's edge, letting the cool waves drift over his toes. His shoes and socks were laid out beside him. Ash went over immediately and started talking. "Hi there, I'm Ash Ketchum. I just moved in. Are you from around here?" The boy with purple hair looked up, frowned. "My name is Paul. I'm from Willstone City. It's a day drive from here. And I just came here to escape the city. My dad dropped me off at Sanjam town. He told me he would pick me again later unless I stay over at someone's house." Ash nodded. He could understand cities were a weird thing. There are so many people, so many neighbors, but almost no Pokemon. Paul looked up. "You like Pokemon?" "Of course, my dad is a great trainer," Ash replied, "and I am going to surpass him and become the youngest champion ever." What Ash didn't mention was that Ash was already the champion. Sorry, what Ash didn't mention was that Red was already the champion of Kanto, holding his throne for past 8 years. He became a champion at the ripe age of 17. Paul nodded again and gave a smile. "Finally, someone with my dreams." Ash mentally patted himself on the back, and it was the first day and he already had a friend. "Say, do you want to come over for a dinner?" Ash asked Paul politely. "No thanks, Ash, but I need to get back to Whalestone. I have a big project for, to do for my trainer school on Monday." Ash frowned. "But it's night. Won't you be scared walking to the Sanjam town? You can stay over if you want." Paul replies, "Well, alright, I'll stay over for tonight, but tomorrow I have to leave." "That's fine, my dad can drive you," Ash replies, and both move down to Ash's house. The two newly made friends walked back to Twin Leaf Town, Ash skipping and bouncing while Paul was walking normally. Ash and Paul reached his new house's door. Ash knocked loudly. Delia Ketchum opened the door and saw her son and a stranger standing on the entrance. "Can Paul stay over tonight, please?" Ash immediately peppered his mom with the question. Delia nodded and seemed not surprised. It was good for his son to make friends. She smiled at the stranger and asked, "Hi there, I'm Mrs. Ketchum." The kid nodded briefly and said, "Good evening, ma'am. My name is Paul. Thank you for letting me stay over." Delia was very surprised. "Well, you are such a polite one. Kids around Ash's age are usually full of energy. Your parents did well with you." Paul shrugged. Delia smiled mentally. "Nice educated kid. Maybe he'll teach Ash some manners. But we all know what kind of kid Ash is." She ushered the two in and led them to the dinner table. It was round and very large. Paul looked around and saw lots of paintings of Pokemon. Many of them were with a man with a flat bill hat and with Pikachu on his shoulder. A man walked down the staircase spiraling up to the second floor. A yellow mouse rode on the top of man's head. He smiled at Paul and made some introductions. "Hi there, I'm Mr. Ketchum, but you can call me Red." "Hello, sir, I'm Paul. Thank you for letting me stay over," Paul replied. Red was surprised that his son made friends on the very first day, and that too a very polite one. He waved his hand and dismissed, while Pika sniffed Paul and gave a growl, while Paul hesitantly scratched Pika's head. Pika had already seen this boy multiple times at the lake and started to like him. While Delia came up and said dinner's ready. The two made their way to the dinner table and saw Ash already wolfing down the food. Red let out a chuckle, while Paul seemed to be abused how Ash was eating. Later that night in Ash's room, Ash asked Paul, "So, Paul, what do you think of my family?" Paul looked up to one of Ash's Pokemon books and grinned slightly. "They're awesome." Ash nodded. "That's good to hear. Is today the only time you'll be here?" Paul shook his head. "Of course not. We're friends, aren't we? You can come to visit me every week at the Wheelstone City, and I'll visit you at the Twinley. Plus, I will see you at the Sangem when we get our new Pokemon at the age of 10. Ash smirked, and his devious little mind stopped working, and both slept over. The next day, Paul went back with went back with Red to Whalestone City along with his new friend Ash. Ash saw the city, waved Paul a goodbye, and came back later. So now we move to the timelines 5 years later. Ash Ketchum is now 10 years old. Ash Ketchum's big day was here. He was finally going to register as a Pokemon trainer. He and his best friend Paul had waited for this day in the day for the last 5 years. Ash had matured a lot in the past 5 years, but he wasn't as serious as Paul. But with Paul's help, he became a very smart young man. Ash slammed down his alarm clock onto his tower and rolled out of the bed quickly. He had woken up 15 minutes late. It wasn't late enough for anyone to notice except for Paul. The two friends had promised to arrive 30 minutes earlier so they could chat. He pulled out his bathrobe and jumped into his shower. Ash was a big eater, but even he knew breakfast could await. After 5 minutes shower, Ash jumped down the stairs. Red and Delia were already lounging on the table eating breakfast. Ash stooped over, grabbed his backpack he spent so long packing yesterday night, and said, "Sorry, Mom, Dad, gotta go, love you." Ash yelled as he sprinted towards the sand gym. Paul's probably there. I wonder what Pokemon he's going to pick. Oh, wait, knowing him, he would probably pick Turtwig. It doesn't matter, I've always wanted a Chimchar, Ash said to himself. Back inside the house, Red looked at the blazing trail of that his son made. Well, that was even faster than I did while I got my first Pokemon. Delia growled and warned him to be quiet. Today was a serious day for Ash. No times for joke. Two finished their breakfast and got in car. By the time they reached Sanjam, a huge crowd gathered there to see new trainers off. Delia and Red parked their car and joined them. While inside the lab, when Ash made it to the Sanjam town's laboratory, he saw three people already there. One was a young trainer called Don. The other was his best friend, and the third person was Professor Rowan, standing with a table in front of him containing three Pokeballs. But Ash was very much excited at which one would he eventually get, because if he didn't get the first opportunity, he might miss his Chimcha. While Paul waved back and called, "What took you so long, Ash boy?" Ash growled mentally, "Well, Paula, I overslept a little bit and smashed my alarm clock." They both glared playfully at each other. Now, children, don't fight. A deep voice came behind a computer. Professor Rowan stood up. He surveyed the children in front of him. He saw all three of them and gave the first opportunity to choose a starter to Ash. Ash Ketchum, you pick the first. Today is a very special day for three of you. You will start your journey as a Pokemon trainer today. You will meet new friends, have good adventures, and learn more about yourself than you have ever known. You there, Ash Ketchum, use the first pick. Ash snapped out of his dreams and went up to the Pokeballs. He didn't know why Professor Rowan let him pick the first, but he was glad he did. Ash immediately reached out to the Pokemon with the Chimchar inside. It was obvious with a little ember sticker was stuck to the top of the Pokeball. Rowan looked around approvingly. He had seen the kid for 5 years. Each time he had talked about Chimchar in one of his speeches. The boy's eyes had lit up. So he wants to beat his father, and it's well known that Red Starter was a Bulbasaur. Ash grabbed the Pokeball, relishing the feeling of its torch. He clicked in the center, and a bright light filled the room. Chimchar. The fire monkey cried out as it appeared on the table. Paul sighed in relief as Ash didn't pick Turtwig. That was the Pokemon Paul wanted. Ash knelt down to Chimchar's eye level. Hi there, little guy. I'm Ash Ketchum. I will allow you. Will you allow me? Will you allow me to be your trainer? Chimchar blinked at once, then jumped happily into Ash's arms. He had finally found a trainer who would take care of him. One look at Ash and he knew they were meant for each other. Ash grinned. Okay, Chimcha, I'm going to put you back into your Pokeball for now, but when we are done here, I'll let you out immediately. Chimcha nodded and Ash put him back on the table. Returned his Pokeball. Bravo, said the professor. Watching the interaction, now we have Dawn use the second pick. Dawn walked up to the podium while Ash stepped back. He whispered to Paul, I got the best one in the group. Paul smirked, well, we'll see that. Type advantages aren't everything you know. So, I was right. Paul did want Turtwig, Ash thought to himself. He looked back towards Dawn. She reached her hand out hesitatingly towards Piplup's Pokeball. Ash was sure if someone said boo in her ear, she would faint. Ash watched as Dawn released her Piplup. The two quickly bonded. Piplup was a very proud Pokemon. Finally, it was Paul's turn. He walked hurriedly and let out Turtwig in one moment. Professor Rowan watched, so he wanted Turtwig anyway. Good thing I didn't disappoint. Well, all these trainers were good with their Pokemon. He cleared his throat. When you're ready, come up, take your Pokédex and Pokéballs. I assume you know what a Pokédex is, and I assume you also know what a Pokéball is and how to catch a Pokéball. When you're ready, come up and get them. Professor Rowan said. Dawn rushed forward in excitement. Her nervous behavior was gone as she got Piplup now. She grabbed the things quickly and thanked Professor for them. Then, just like that, she was out of the door. Ash and Paul turned down to each other. So, Ash, want to travel together? I'm sure you need my help since your big head will get you in trouble. Paul dropped casually. Ash knew better to come back with an insult in Rowan's presence, so he smiled. But of course, old friend of mine, lead the way. Paul almost cried out with joy when he accepted. He and Ash had become very close friends for past 5 years. He was distant and cold to other people, but to Ash he was always nice and forgiving. Even though they had many differences, including how to train Pokemon, how fast one should eat, how to win, how to behave, they were the best friends. The professor waited patiently and mentally praised the young ones. They started taking their things right out of the way. The duo walked forward to the table, grabbed their things, thanked Professor Rowan, and went out into the daylight of a new adventure side by side. Alright, guys, the story is only till here. Tell me in the comments what do you think of it. Please subscribe, like, and share the video if you like the story. And the quality of story will surely improve over time. The next chapter, we would see Ash and Paul get their first Pokemon captures, while Dawn isn't a traveling companion this time. I know there are many people who like Dawn as Pokeball, but the chemistry that Ash and Paul will share in this story, you will like it since both do admire each other but have a rivalry at the same time. Also, DM me in the Discord server. What do you think of this story and any ideas for what their team must be? In next episode, they'll each capture one Pokemon. And for Paul, it's obvious you might guess in the comments, but for Ash, it's not random. It's a very special one. Please try to guess which one it might be. Well, I'll meet you next time. Next time is going to be very early because I'm going to post the next chapter tomorrow itself because I have already wrote it. So do comment and DM me your ideas and thoughts, and also forgive me for not posting the anime rewrite for past 1 month. I'm going to repost. Sorry, I'm going to post next chapter as soon as possible. The next chapter is bloody very long. But one thing's for sure that you are going to like it. So do hit the like, subscribe for all the video upcoming videos. I don't mind you sharing the videos, but do share your thoughts and ideas for me. That's what matters. Literally, there are around 5 to 6 people who watch my videos, and if they too don't reply, what's the reason behind me making these videos and all? I took a long break, but I'm back, back for best, back for better, and tomorrow you will get to see the chapter 2 of this thing. But please DM me your ideas. I don't know what to do next in the story, so only your thoughts can be helpful for me. I also added conversations and all between the characters. So also give your opinions about them in the comments. Goodbye.